All right. So my name is Teresa Owen, and I'm with Inner Smile Yoga. And I'm running an interview called Interviews with Dreamers, um, talking to positive people about making things happen. So I'm here with Dawn Belisle, who's the owner of Delights by Dawn, and she makes the most amazing cakes and infused delights that you would just drool over. And I met her when my husband had a birthday, and his favorite is German chocolate cake. And my dad used to make the best German chocolate cake. And I've always had a hard time finding it in Atlanta. And I finally found her this year. Yay! It was amazing. He's still talking about it.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. You don't know. This is worth a lot. Worth a lot. So, and one of the things that impressed me about you, Dawn, was that, when we met, this was during COVID, and we did this little drive-by meetup in Glenwood, and there were a few people out on the streets and in the, on the outside seating, and you pulled up and like everybody knew who you were. And it was like, one of the things I really value is this, this way of connecting to community in terms of bringing your dream forward, that we all need a little help sometimes. And so it's nice. So I wanted to just ask you a few questions about, maybe just start with how are things going during this time? Are there some new and exciting things you've brought forward?
Things I actually have to say, and thank you for the German chocolate cake. So let me actually even start off with that. I have been making that cake for years, but not since COVID. Literally, I thought about taking it off the website because I didn't get, it was very sparse. But it must be the comfort, either it's the comfort food cake for COVID, or people are now finding out that I am probably one of very few bakers, especially in Atlanta, that make it. I have sold more German chocolate cakes since COVID than I have in the past 2 years.
I love it. Thank you for not taking it off the menu, because his birthday's not till June.
It is not going anywhere. I literally have been getting like once a week, sometimes more than one order of German chocolate cake. And so
I love it.
It's been saved. Thank you. You helped be a part of that saving grace for the German chocolate cake. But I have to honestly say it's not been too bad. It's actually been a little bit good. It's been good for my business as far as even more outreach beyond just the neighborhood. It's the bad is small. I mean, a small part. And the bad is I actually was kind of straying away last year from online because I was very heavy into the festivals, and the festival season here in Atlanta is like from February to November. And I do a lot of the drinking festivals because my products are alcohol infused. So that was like fantastic. But then all of those, of course, went away.
Right.
So the online started picking up. And the online, especially when we were on lockdown, definitely picked up a lot from people out of state. People out of state that were like, oh my God, I was supposed to be there for my husband or a wife or a partner or someone's birthday, and they couldn't come because of the lockdown. So they were probably, I asked them what they look for, and they're Googling bakeries or infused stuff. They wanted something special since they couldn't be here. So I've had a lot of people from out of state that order here where I deliver to them, to the person that they're sending it to.
In Atlanta.
That's really helped. Yeah, that's really
you're like the
really
local FTD of specialty cakes. Yes. Well, you really niched yourself out with this kind of creative style of baking too, and I think that makes you stand out without doing a ton of extra marketing. It makes you stand out. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I specifically chose to niche myself out, and I'm very strong-natured, but naturally, and because I'm an attorney actually too. So I stick with my brand. So I do
Yeah.
get people who say, hey, well, can I get some infused, not some non-infused? And I will say, I'm sorry, I don't do non-infused. I just specialize in infused. But I
Yeah.
do know a great baker that I can refer you to for non-infused if you have to have both. But
Yeah.
you're right. Just so I'm not going squirrely and offering everything, and I created the niche, and I'm trying to stay in the niche. So I've become like the specialty person in this particular niche because I specialize in it. There may be some bakers that may have one or two things that they say is alcohol
Sure.
infused, but I specifically, except for the German chocolate cake and a couple others that I've been doing for years, and I was told if I take it off the menu, they'll kill me. Except for those three things, everything is totally alcohol infused. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. It makes you kind of the industry expert, and that
Yes,
gives you
absolutely.
a lot of cachet in the market. Like I said, without having to do a lot of extra
Right.
repetitive advertising and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's really
absolutely.
smart. That's
Mhm.
really smart.
Yeah.
So I know I love that, you know, one of the things you were an attorney for 19 years before you started this business.
Yeah.
And so some of the people that I've been talking to are trying to figure out, they're in transition, they're trying to figure out to put their toe in the water with something
Right.
different. And I thought, and I love that one of your taglines is I'm the legal baker. What did you call yourself?
Oh, I'm the, yes, lawyer turned boozy baker.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that.
Thank
So
you.
it's awesome. And so I wanted you to maybe talk a little bit about, you know, what gave you the courage to just jump, and what were some of the you know, most supportive things that you had going for you at the time?
Okay. Um, it's something, honestly, it's been a passion. I mean, I learned how to cook and bake from my mom.
Yeah.
So like even early on in my career, I always had this vision that I would start selling my stuff, and you know, so it's always been there. But of course, I was a lawyer. I was kind of into that, and I kind of just, okay, yeah. But I think it was in 2014, it was 20 years. I think I'm at 25 now, but in 2013 was when I really started floating with the idea. And I floated with the idea more seriously, just like everyone else does. Someone's in a
Yeah.
corporate job and they hate their corporate job. I had been an attorney. I've been a prosecutor in 2 counties,
Yeah.
and then a defense attorney, and I was just done for, you
Yeah.
know, it was like, it was not, I wasn't happy doing it. I kind of was like, and for me, that's something that I don't keep. I don't stay in misery. I hate to say it like that, but if I'm unhappy,
Sure.
I'm gonna find some way to kind of switch it up or change it up. You may not be able to totally change it, but maybe switch it up. So I
Sure.
started floating with the idea more seriously in 2013. And then it really took off in 2014 was when you know, I landed the contract with the Georgia Domes, selling them at the Falcons game. And then that's when I was just like, psh, done. And I
Yeah.
actually stopped practicing law, like totally, for like 2014 till maybe about 2018.
Hmm.
I stopped. Like I wasn't taking clients because I was really busy with the baking business, because I kind of went like this. Then it
Yeah.
kind of leveled off, and then
Sure.
kind of went like that. And then so I always knew I wanted to do it. And I always kind of time just kind of still looked at the scope, you know, looked what was going on in that
Sure.
arena. So you know, for me, I tell folks one of the things people don't do that that I do or I did is before you jump out there, you really need to just kind of research the market. I mean, you really
Yeah.
kind of take a look at it. And that's one of the other reasons why I did a niche, because there are tons of bakers
Yeah.
everywhere that do cakes and that do regular cupcakes. So I wanted to stand out. And so just by looking and seeing what was going on, it allowed me to start thinking, well, okay, I know I want to do this, but what can I do differently that would make me not just be in that big pool with everybody else?
Right.
And
Right.
so I just kind of kept, you know, doing that stuff. And then in 2014, when I got that contract, I was just like done. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna dedicate it full time.
Yeah. I love it.
And yeah, hindsight's 2020. I'm gonna say now what I've learned in the past 4 or 5 years. I wouldn't have done it exactly like how I did do it, but I would not have not done it.
I
would have still
totally
done
get
it.
that. I
Mhm.
totally get that. It's just like, if you hadn't done it that way, you wouldn't have learned what you know now. And
Exactly.
yeah, I love
Mhm.
that, because one of the things that, we talk about just in terms of personal growth and personal understanding is not being afraid to go through an experience and not
Yeah.
judging it based on success or failure, but on what you
Right.
learned.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely.
if you learned and you took the learning in, then you're doing great.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I tell people, because they ask me all the time too, in judging, the word you used was judging success. You need to have your own definition of
I love that.
success. For me,
Mhm.
success was not, I had never thought of my business mass producing. Of course, I would love to make millions of dollars, but I never looked at it as mass producing, because I love the quality of what I provide.
Absolutely.
And I don't want my name or my brand to be tarnished by mass production, which then deals with the decline in quality. And people say, which I have done for some of these cupcake places that I've had when they were starting out and they've mass produced, oh, they were great back then, but now, yuck, I didn't want that. So you have to also know, what is your definition of success when it comes to your business and what you see. And it may not necessarily be money, it's not necessarily all
Absolutely.
about money. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's excellent. I love the way you described it, because it's as talking about not, the two sides of it, right? You did your
Yes.
homework. You did your homework, you researched your lane, and your lane was something you felt really good about.
Yes.
And then you looked at, not comparing yourself to somebody
Mhm.
else's definition of success. So just
Yeah.
stay in your lane, trust that. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which which is about how you stay in touch with that sort of inner wisdom. Like, what are your strategies for that?
So I will say social media is good and bad, because social media, when you're looking at other businesses and you're like, well, gosh, they just started a couple of years ago and now they're like zooming, they have 3 locations, and you look, and sometimes you can lose your focus, what
Yeah,
your focus was in the beginning, because you're looking at all this other, and you just have to keep saying to yourself, what was the reason or the purpose that
the
I
why.
wanted and started to do this, and kind of reel it back in. I fall prey to that sometimes, because I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I've been around, but, and then I have to reel it back in, and I have to say, that's not for you. That's not
Right.
in your plan. And so that is one of the things that I will say that you have to remember to keep you grounded, and not, because you will tear yourself up by trying to compare yourself to other people, and you will forget that that was not your purpose. That's not your
Yep.
purpose. Um, and I learned that years ago too, when I was talking to my therapist, and he said the same thing. He was like, um, he went through that, where he was like, oh, I'm going to be a therapist and I'm going to interview Oprah Winfrey, and none of that happened. And then he was like, okay, I had to reel it back in. So making sure that you stay true and reel it back in when you start to lose focus in regards to why and your purpose for doing
Right.
what it is that you are doing. And
Yeah.
then during this time, especially with it being crazy with COVID, I've meditate for years. I do guided meditation. So I will meditate. I do read when I get the chance to sit down and read. I love the Deepak Chopra, Dalai Lama, the spiritual universe type books. It just puts me in a calming space.
Yeah.
During COVID, what has really, really helped me is exercising, but it's funny because it wasn't because of exercising. I'm outdoors a lot. So I
Mhm.
definitely make time for me. And the exercising that I do outdoors is more for my mental state than for my
Absolutely.
physical state. The side benefit is the physical,
Yeah.
but it's more for my mental state. So I walk a lot. I
Mhm.
live on the Beltline, so I walk about 12, 15 miles a week.
Wow,
And
that's
that's,
great.
yeah, and that's in addition to I may ride my bike or I did get roller skates during this time. So I'm trying to
You
get
know, it's so funny you
reacclimated.
bring that up because I so want to get them now. I so want to
You,
get them
you
right now.
could
We'll
not
talk later.
find them. You could
I
not, yes,
know.
you couldn't
I
find
know.
them. But getting back on skates after it's been years and my ankles feel funny. So I go up on the top of my parking deck where no one really parks and I kind of skate back and forth to kind of get my footing together. But even just doing that and
It's
being
great.
outdoors has helped me mentally. That walking
Yeah.
absolutely helps me. And I don't power walk. I am
Yeah.
doing a relaxing walk to just decompress and just be in a more peaceful, quiet state. I may have music on. Sometimes I'll have my meditation on. Sunday mornings, I love to walk and I don't have anything. I just listen to the birds and just the
That's
sounds.
awesome.
It's just, yeah. And that has really, honestly, I think that has really, really helped me during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. This has
Oh, you're
been
welcome.
awesome. It's nice to get to know
Yes.
some of your strategies and what you're doing. And I'm so thrilled about the cake, the German chocolate cake. Can't tell. I'm still going back
Yeah.
there, but I really
Thank you.
appreciate I appreciate you sharing your wisdom because I think that holds true. Is
Yeah.
all of the points you brought up about finding your lane and staying in your lane and
Yeah.
then creating balance
Yeah.
so that you can
Yeah.
remember who you are and
Right.
why you're
Yeah.
doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and everyone strays, like I said, but as long as you can reel it back in, then it
Yeah.
kind of makes you say, okay, stop it. And then you kind of know where you gotta go.
Yeah. I like we're all having conversations with ourselves all the time.
Yeah,
Okay,
stop
cut
it.
it out. Dawn, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very
inviting me
much.
on.
Yeah, yeah.